Go, let's go. I'm so excited. You ready? You're ready. I'm ready. Let's go.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I am so thrilled to be speaking to you. I am like over the moon. I tried to do a head wrap for you. You heard I said tried. I'm like,
You get it, girl.
thank you. And I like got tears crying, like I can't do this. But I am so in awe with you, C Chai. You are a author, a specialist, I mean, an advocate. You do so many things. Let me ask you, since you've been so busy, how are you handling this whole quarantine?
Okay, let me start off with the pronunciation of my name.
Oh, please, please.
It's Sihle.
Sihle.
Sihle. But
Sihle.
the quarantine has been very interesting. I started off this year with so many grand plans. I was supposed to be traveling. I was supposed to be in the US as part of my book tour, and then coronavirus happened and it kind of just threw everything into disarray. So
Mhm.
it's been a very interesting time for me because I've had lots of good moments but also lots of very low moments, lots of moments where I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do now. I also do a lot of speaking engagements and now everything was canceled,
Right.
and so I'm worried about my paycheck. I'm worried about not being feeling creative or inspired,
Hmm.
and just trying to figure out what does this then mean for my business going forward. How do I readjust to make sure that should something like this ever happen in the future, I'm sufficiently insulated.
Right. That makes sense. I think like everybody has been tilted, or we have to learn to pivot so that we can sustain, because you're absolutely right. Like you said, there are some moments that you enjoyed. Can you share what you've treasured so far?
I've definitely enjoyed the time with my family a lot more. Being stuck with each other has actually really, really been good for the soul. I'm also a bit of an introvert, so I've enjoyed not having to feel bad about declining invitations. I'm like, about the perfect excuse, finally. I don't have to explain anything. So that's been really great. But also, it's given me a lot of time to do a lot of looking inwards, a lot of, without the noise, without the distractions, be able to refocus on myself and figure out what gives me joy. We get so caught up in chasing money, chasing our careers, chasing the next thing, and we kind of lose ourselves along the way. So it's been a really good time for me to just take a step back and kind of, enjoy the stillness and figure out again, who I am, what am I about, what do I want out of life, and what actually truly gives me joy.
I love that. I love that because this is the time we have no excuses. There's no distractions that,
Mm.
is pulling us in different directions. And I'm like you, I am so happy. My daughter said, I think you're the only one who's happy that they can't go anywhere. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying that time. Have you or any of your family been affected personally about from the COVID-19?
No, thank God. No,
Right.
not at all. I did, about 2 months ago, I had a minor medical procedure that I had to do. So I had to go and do a test. And I was horrified because firstly, I just thought about the process of having this thing shoved up my nose. That gave me anxiety. And then, sitting and waiting for the results. I mean, I got the results within 24 hours, but it is so nerve-wracking. It is so petrifying because especially when you hear stories about people who have followed all of the safety protocols, they're wearing their masks, they're washing their hands, they're staying away from people, but they still have contracted the virus. So it's a very scary thing, even if you are, being as good as you think you are,
Right.
but to still be at risk. And then, of course, having to deal with people who are reckless. I mean, seeing all of the people in the US who are actually trying to fight to not wear masks is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh. I am so happy you said that because that's crazy. Like, I don't think it happens in other countries. I
Yeah,
think
we
they
are we're
follow
not
the
fighting.
Yes, you follow directions. They say stay inside. Everybody say okay. But I said from the beginning, I have friends all over the world that we, as the United States, is going to be the worst hit because we feel so entitled. I have rights. You can't take my rights. And I said they're going to fight, 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 which is, I'm with you, it's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your books. How is that going since you can't do your tours? Are you writing more things or what are you doing?
So I'm still actively promoting my book. It's called We Are the Ones We Need, The War on Black Professionals in Corporate South Africa. And essentially the book is, it uses my experiences within the corporate world as context. And I really just talk about the experiences that Black professionals have, from the racism, the discrimination, the unequal pay, the microaggressions, the constructive dismissal. And so I really just give language to our experiences, because what I'm finding increasingly as I have more conversations with Black people is, we go through these things but you don't know what to label it, you don't know what to call it, because you have never gone through that. For some people, they are the first generation in their families to be in formal employment or to be within the corporate world, so you don't even have family that can say, oh, beware of ABCD when you enter the workplace. And so this book for me was a way to kind of, help Black professionals to be able to identify some of the issues in the workplace, to be able to prepare for them, and also understand how to deal with it when you are faced with those various challenges. So not being able to be on tour has meant that I've had to think differently about how I interact with audiences and with current and potential readers for my book. And so what I'm doing at the moment actually is every Sunday evening, I go on IG Live and I read excerpts from the book with people, and we actually discuss some of the themes that come through, and people share their experiences as well, and we debate it and discuss it. And it really has been an incredible experience for me, because I'm able to interact with my audience, but also able to hear their stories directly from them, able to get their perspectives and directly answer their questions, which is an opportunity that many people might not be able to get.
That is amazing that you're doing that because I can see that as such a powerful time. Because, like you said, so many people don't have a person that they can turn to and say, "Hey, what is this about? Why is this going on?" Can you share with us one of the things that you really have found has been a common in the corporate?
Absolutely. Firstly, there are so many. um, it's actually interesting because in this past Sunday's one, we were chatting about, so for instance, having an abusive boss, right, who is very clearly abusive to you because of your race. And so you are either dealt with, abusive language or passive aggressive behavior, being excluded or isolated in the workplace, being diminished, being made to feel like you don't matter, you're not seen, nobody knows what you do, you don't contribute anything, you don't add any value. And the interesting thing about that conversation was that our experiences were all the same, right? Even though we've never met each other, we don't know each other. The language that was used against us was the same across the board. But also there are people in other parts of the world going through exactly the same experiences with exactly
Right,
the same language,
right.
right? And I'm just like, I'm sorry, is there some kind of boot camp that white people go to that we don't know about?
They
Because
get a special
they speak
email.
the same language.
Right.
So it's been absolutely insane. But we can laugh about certain aspects of it, absolutely, because it's so ridiculous. Sometimes you can't help but laugh. But it's also very heartbreaking because I fully understand the trauma that it creates within Black people. I fully understand the anxiety that it creates, the stress that it creates, which often manifests itself into physical illness as well. We're seeing spikes in the number of Black professionals who are being booked into psychiatric institutions because of work-related stress. And so it really is a very, very concerning situation, and it's not getting any better. You look at even from a legislative perspective. Yes, we have great legislation in terms of employment and labor, but the implementation is poor. We have legislation that says that there must be equal pay for work of equal value, but there's nobody to make sure that corporates are actually adhering to that. There's nobody who's going and checking what the salaries look like, who's earning what, for what reason, where are the disparities, and how are those going to be addressed. So we have a very, very long way to go before we're actually able to achieve any kind of equity or equality for Black people in the workplace.
Wow. That is so profound because, like you said, that happens everywhere. Women are underpaid everywhere, and they get away with it because no one really talks about how much they make.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah. That's a big issue that we have here. So the trend is that organizations will say to employees, for your own safety, don't discuss what you're earning. We're doing this for you. We're just looking out for your best interests. And honey, we have been getting played. So, it's so, and I keep trying to encourage people to stop attaching themselves to whatever clout they think comes with their paycheck, because essentially you're doing yourself a disservice. Have conversations with your peers. If you are all speaking about your individual salaries, there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that is wrong is if you go and look up other people's salaries, because that ain't none of your business, right?
Yeah, they're
That's
not telling
confidential
you, right?
information. Yeah. But if you all agree to share this information with each other, then you're able to gauge and see, are there discrepancies? Is there something that we need to be challenging within the organization? And the reality is that if you are driving transparency within an organization, it benefits everyone. You know, Even if an issue doesn't necessarily affect you today, it might affect you next week. You never know how it's going to work out, because as long as there are people who are oppressed, then nobody is really free in any space.
What a statement. That's it in a nutshell. That is
Mm.
exactly it because I don't know about in South Africa, but here they kind of make it seem like we should be happy to have a job and you should just be, take it and be quiet about it. You have a job. Do you
Mm.
find any common,
Yeah.
yeah?
It creates a lot of conflict, a lot of internal conflict for Black professionals, because if for a lot of people, it's Black people you should feel grateful. You should have a sense of gratitude to have a job, because do you know how many people would kill to have your
Uh-huh.
job? Do you know how many people would kill to be earning a salary?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and generally Black people don't really speak much about mental illness and stress and all of these types of things, and anxiety. Some people have even said that when they try to raise it in their families, the response is stress. That's white people things. Anxiety, that's white people diseases. Hey, you know just get
Right,
it together
right.
and go do
Yeah,
your job.
yeah.
And so it's a very conflicting space to be in for so many Black professionals, because yes, I'm happy I have a job, because I also understand that the unemployment rate in this country is so high. There are so many
Yes.
Black people who are qualified, who are highly educated, who are unable to get a job. So there's that aspect of it. But
Mm-hmm.
then the reality is that you're in a space that is toxic, that is harming you day in and day out. You understand that as a Black person, you have to work 20 times harder than a white person just to get half a foot in the door, and you don't even get half of the benefits that they get. And we also understand the issue of the fact that white people get employed and promoted based on potential. We first have to prove ourselves over and over and over and over again before we even get an
Mhm.
interview or get called in to be considered for a promotion. And so we fully understand what's at stake, and I think that's what creates a lot of the tension for us. Is, if I take this risk, if I speak up, when will I have another opportunity? Will I be able to get another job? Will I be forced out of the organization? Then what do I do when I've got so many people relying on my income. I've got to take care of so many people with this salary. And so it's just this cycle that just keeps happening.
What do you suggest to people when they're saying that? How do you help them through that?
I mean, everybody's situation is different. For me, it always comes down to, having to be honest and real with yourself, right? So if you're unhappy with a particular situation in your organization, what are the various processes that you can follow? What steps can you take within the organization to resolve the issue that you have? So for some people, it might be first I need to try and address it with my line manager. If that doesn't go well, then the next step would be escalating it to the HR department. The HR department will do their thing with it if they do anything. And if I'm still not happy with that, the HR department might then, be a mediator in my conversations with my line manager. And if that doesn't work, then I might then file a grievance, right? And then if I'm still not happy with that, then I might go for mediation. And then if I'm still not happy with that, I need to make a decision, right?
Right,
And then
yeah.
at some point, you have to get to a point where you understand that you are the one that needs to make a very difficult decision. Are you going to stay in an environment that is unwilling to change, unwilling to see you or hear you, or address your concerns in an appropriate manner? Are you willing to stick it out and take whatever it comes with it? Or are you unwilling to stay in that environment because your peace of mind, your mental and emotional well-being is more important, and you're willing to explore opportunities outside of that organization? That's essentially what it boils down to. For a lot of people, a lot of us will complain about the fact that, when we are fighting with our employers, other Black professionals don't fight with us, and that's a big issue, right? We all have the sense of feeling like you're a lone ranger trying to fight for something that's going to benefit everyone, but nobody's standing with you. And I've personally experienced that. It's a painful thing to go through.
Right.
And everybody obviously doesn't participate for their own reasons. People want to protect their jobs, they want to protect their incomes, they don't want to be victimized because they stood with you. But at some point, we have to make a decision, right, as Black people. Are we going to allow this to continue, or are we willing to sacrifice something in order to gain the justice that we deserve, and to make sure that future generations don't come into the workplace and fight a battle that we should have long fought?
Wow. Wow. I am so happy I am speaking to you because this is so real. And I didn't realize it happened there, right? In South Africa. I know it happens here. And it's just so profound that you are giving people an outlet, giving them tools and ways to handle it or go about it, and that they are not alone. So that has to be very satisfying for you.
It is. It's been I've always said it's been a bit of a bittersweet journey for me since my book came out, because it's always great, obviously, as a writer or as a creator of things, that your audience receives it well and can relate to it and can say things like, I feel like you were in my head when you were writing that book. You've told my story. Everything that you wrote about, I have gone through. I'm currently going through this, and that's a
Right.
beautiful thing to hear, right? Because it speaks to the fact that you were able to be authentic in
Right.
the way in which you've told your story. But the downside of it is realizing just how many of us are going through this, just how many of us are suffering in silence because we're not speaking to each other. We're not sharing our experiences. Nobody wants to tell that they're having a hard time. Nobody wants to speak about how they're struggling because we always have to have it together. We always have to be kicking ass. We always have to be, I got this, and I'm a strong Black woman. Ain't nobody gonna break me, you know.
Right,
But you're
right.
breaking in private.
Yeah, we crying in the
And
bathroom.
yeah, absolutely. And we haven't gotten to a point where we consciously understand, accept, embrace the fact that when we actually have conversations with each other, when we trust each other as Black professionals, that's when we can really start to move the needle.
Wow, that is so true. It's so crazy because even as a little kid, my dad always would say, you have to be 10 times better than them in your education, in your
Mm.
trade, whatever. Just to sit at the table, just for them to give you an opportunity, you know.
Mm,
And that was installed in us as a young age. We all figured that. That's why we studied. You know, we wanted to be even sitting at the table, right?
mm,
And it's crazy how we as adults still hold that, like you were saying, being a strong black woman, because only white people go to therapy, only white people get medication. We are supposed to suffer through it. And I
mm.
want to know how that happened. How did we hold on to that?
Oh my gosh. It goes so far back with, you know, and I've always had such an issue with just the way in which we define black culture, right? Because, you know, the men are the head of the
The
household, you
king.
know, you know, but the women are the ones who make everything happen, you know. But also, we're the ones that must bear the brunt of everything. Everybody else has room to be human. Everybody else has room to make mistakes. Everybody else has room to be broken, you know? But we're not. We must be strong. We must hold it together. We must hold families together. We must pick up our husbands off the floor when they're having a hard time.
Right.
We must still go and work two jobs to be able to support our families. We must take care of the home and everything else, and we come last. Because as soon as a black woman puts herself first, you're selfish. You don't think about
Okay.
anybody else. Where do you get off? Who do you think you
You
are? How
are.
dare you? You know? And I was watching this, you know, with this whole thing that was happened with Kanye, and you know, his manic episode that he had, and so many people were saying, you know, he needs a black woman. Hold up, no,
No,
wait a
no, what?
minute. The hell do you
Mm-mm.
mean? Why?
Mm-mm.
Why? Everybody sees black women as the worker bees. We're the ones that must just suffer, toil, do all of these things. And nobody ever stops and says, you know what, actually, we need to be taking care of black women now. It's time. It's enough. They've been through enough.
I am with you. I support that 100% because it is enough. We are the ones who have to do anything and everything for everyone else.
Mm.
But as soon as you say, "Oh, I'm having a rough day. I need some help," they're like, "Oh, you know, you're weak. You this." I'm like, okay," you
Yeah.
know.
Or they'll just be like, oh, you got this. You'll figure it out. You got it. No, I don't got it. I'm tired of guarding it. No,
Exactly. You
I've
got
had
it. You'll figure it
enough.
out. Yep, I'm done. I can't figure anything out.
Mm.
I'm done. I'm done with it. You know, it's just so impressive that you are bold enough, because it takes a lot of courage on your part to speak of these issues, write it down, because you know, black people, we usually do things orally, right? Within our generations, we share things through our stories and things of that nature. White people generally write it down, right? So for you to have the to write it down and then stand by it, what was that decision? What made you say, I have to put this in writing, I have to write this book?
I think one of the things for me was just being tired of the fact that most of the literature that I see is written by white people. Most of the literature in our schools is written by white people. Black stories told through the white lens. I mean, it drives me crazy. And so, you know, I can have talks. I have talks, you know, but they're very kind of fleeting and passing. You catch it maybe if you're there, but there's a permanence that comes with documenting something in writing and having it
Mm-hmm.
available. And that was important for me because I also wanted it to be a book that can live generation to generation. because there's so many things that we might not be able to articulate ourselves, but books are there to help us, to give us the words that we need to be able to, share whatever it is that we need to share. But also there's a boldness, that comes with having the audacity as a Black person to write a book,
Yes.
and I'm definitely in my season of audacity, so I was embracing that. Scary,
Right, right,
because you
right.
never really know what's going to happen until that book is out. But I really just felt like it was a step worth taking, as a Black woman in particular, and especially taking this kind of topic, which is not something that many people have covered, particularly in South Africa. And so it was important for me to be able to, kind of um, put my foot down where this is concerned and share exactly what my thoughts are, unfiltered, and just share the state of affairs as it currently is in South Africa.
Well, we are internally, we just inside, I feel so joyous because it's actually spoken and it's actually written. And you're right, you can't go to everybody because they don't have that experience in the corporations like we do. So you are usually swimming in the ocean alone. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that we can get your book. How can we get your book?
The ebook is available on Kindle. So if you just go there and search my name or search "We Are the Ones We Need," the War on Black Professionals in Corporate South Africa, you'll find it. And if there's anybody who would like a physical copy, you can just send me a DM and I will direct you to distributors who are able to ship it to you wherever you are in the world.
Perfect, because I'm going to be sending you a DM so that I can get the book. And let me
Awesome.
ask you, what are you working on now? Any upcoming events?
I actually am working on a few things. The one is I'm working on my second book, which I hope to finish later this year. And then I am still I have a platform called Connected, which is a platform, it's a membership-based platform for Black professional women. And essentially, it's a year-long program, for women with content that I've curated, and I bring in Black women to facilitate, who are experts in their field, and we kind of take professional women through a series of upskilling, topics and tools and tips to help them better navigate the workplace. So we cover all sorts of things from healing yourself and your traumas and your own internal blockages, to understanding corporate power dynamics, to understanding, how do you harness power within, the corporate space? How do you negotiate within the workplace? How do you position yourself for for promotions, and a whole bunch of other things. So that's my baby. It's currently only in South Africa, but from next year it will be open to the US and the UK as well.
Wow, that is awesome. I mean, wow, that's powerful within itself because Black professional women helping each other is exactly what this world needs right now, right? We
Mhm.
need to stick together. Do you have any other words of wisdom you want to tell us out here?
I think that the one thing for me is just, to do it anyway, whatever it is. Do it anyway. I think for Black women, from my own experiences and from the conversations that I have with other Black women, the one thing that always comes up across the board is fear, which leads to hesitation. And that's whether it's in your career or in your personal life, we always are led and controlled by fear.
Right.
And my thing is just do it anyway, no matter how scary it is. Take that leap of faith, trust yourself. Because whatever it is that you need to do, whatever it is that you need to overcome, you have everything that you need.
Wow, you're talking to me, right? Like, no, everybody is thinking she's talking to me because that is one of the things that we do. Speaking for myself, I hold my own stuff back because of fear. Like, oh, what if, what if? So I love that. And, just do it and have confidence in yourself. And that resonates with a lot of us. So thank you so much. But before we let you go, I have to ask because your skin is gorgeous. Like,
Cute.
what do you do for your skin? Because, I mean, wow.
Oh my goodness. A lot of skin. I spend a lot of time with my skincare stuff in the evenings. I have so many steps that I follow. So it's the whole wash, double wash sometimes, toner, scrub, serums. I do the whole shebang. Drink lots of water. Mind my business, and I remain a headache to white people. That all contributes to great skin.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Well, I have been totally blessed by you taking this time out, and I am so sorry I butchered your name. It's Si Sha?
Sihle.
Si Se?
Sihle.
Oh,
Sihle.
okay, that's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I just can't say it. I want to say it, but I'm gonna be like, hey, C, like, no.
We'll get you right. Don't you worry.
Yeah, help me. We don't say it enough times. I will get it. I will get it. Thank you. I mean, from the bottom of my heart for taking this time out to speak to us at Sheen Talk Live. You are so tremendous, and you're a force to be reckoned with, and we want to walk with you. So how can we stay connected?
Thank you so much. Instagram at Sihle Bolani. I have a website, sihlebolani.com. And yeah, I'm always available. I always respond. So if anybody wants to reach out or connect, I am available.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're
Bye.
amazing. Thanks. Bye-bye.